Mary's Room is a thought experiment that asks, if a scientist knows everything there is to know about colour, but has never seen it herself, does she learn anything new the moment she experiences it? When you bring this to life, it begs the question, can knowledge ever replace experience, or are some truths only discovered through living them? And the question there, can knowledge ever replace experience? I have another quote from Einstein that says, the only source of knowledge is experience. I find that in this world now, there's such a mindset around improvement, or like there's an awareness that we can evolve. And with that awareness is this tension, because I think there's a price that growth entails. And I don't think we want the reward without the cost. And this room is sort of analogous to that, because I think there's so much intellectual awareness around the world we have now, because there's so much information. But I think the in-person, tangible human experience provides an understanding that the intellect can't. And that's what this question asks, like, what are the limitations of the intellectual understanding or knowing of something versus the real, tangible, in-person experience? What do you think experience gives us that knowing something intellectually can't provide?
Have you heard of the word qualia? The base word of quality.
Yeah.
Right. So it's where we place. Have you heard of the hard problem? Right.
I'm reading a book from this neuroscientist. I think it's neuroscientist about consciousness. From
yes.
Have you heard of that one?
Yeah. So it's the hard problem is based and coupled with qualia. Almost like, why do we experience anything? Right. Why is the apple red? Really, why are we experiencing it like that? It's just you can't get to the bottom of it. That's why it's a philosophical question. But qualia is the base word for what we are trying to describe or give a language to the essential experience. Your subjective experience, is the quality. So the quality of that thing. Why do we have qualitative studies? Quantitative, qualitative studies. Qualitative is we're trying to capture your lived experience through your language, through your whatever we can extract from you as a subjective, unique individual to gain the quality of your experience of a particular treatment drug or an intervention or anything really, just your experience on something. And so we have language essentially for that. We try to describe, but it's futile to really capture the essential quality. Then say the more abstract and the deeper the experience, the harder it is to explain away in words. So spirituality being the thing which is too hard to actually capture. That's why they call it the ineffable. Plotinus, the Greek philosopher, spoke about the one thing which is now God, or the source of all things, the one singularity. It's the ineffable, he said. You actually can't speak about it. It's only an experiential thing, right? It's so far from the human perspective and our sensory experience and language capabilities that there's no actual way of explaining it away. So knowledge is futile in those moments. So there is something only by the experience of this universe, and the quality of that experience gives us this inherent understanding or perspective or position or lesson about it. And it might be too hard to put in language or words or intellect. But there's something about a knowingness when you hit this, say, spiritual truth. Rather than explaining it, I think people know what I'm talking about when, let's say, you hit the right psychedelic experience or meditative experience or peak experience, flow state. There's something there that you have an inherent knowing. Sometimes I experienced my grandmother, she spoke to me. She came to me in my dreams. It's like there's this knowing that was her, Too hard to explain away. You can't really fully understand or knowledge that thing either, but there's a knowingness. So it's only through the experience of this universe that gives it its value. So that's why experience, I think, is the only way through a lot of things like that. But look, experience scares the hell out of us too. And that's why I don't want to experience some of my worst emotions. Let's say the things that I've blocked away in my body, memories, ideas, things that I don't want to feel because I wanted to survive and put on a face. And It's just too scary and overwhelming, and so I compartmentalize. And now all of a sudden, I'd rather know all about that through knowledge. So this is where intellectualizing is one of the defense mechanisms in psychology, because someone that is too afraid to feel, experience the deepest, darkest shadow realms within their body and mind and memories, they will learn about it. So it's like, I've got a symptom, I've got a pathology, I've got a diagnosis. They will learn about it, learn everything. They'll read the books on it. They'll tell you what's on page 73 about this diagnosis and what academics said this about, and they know all about it. But there's something still that it's just creating a separation, so I don't have to experience it, because I know that I lose myself in the actual experience of it. But it's like there's some inherent knowing that you don't get to go through this life without experiencing your truth. There's something about you actually have to go and experience to know something or learn your lesson, a spiritual lesson.
It's like that quote, "The cave you feared to enter holds the treasure you seek." But also, around this knowledge and the in-person experience, is this quote I love from Plato that says, "Knowledge without experience is like a map without territory." We have this like intellectual understanding as almost like a protection mechanism. And how I see that even in myself, right? Like I feel like I've been on that journey. It's like we have this vault internally, like call it our soul. We have this purpose, we have this gift. And instead of, opening the vault because it's it's an unknown, it's an uncertainty, we start putting these guards around the front of it. We call that intellectual armoring, like almost bubble wrapping the vault. And it's really easy to confuse the activity, because I think we have a signal that there's activity around this vault. Like the conscious experiences, there's activity around the vault. I'm doing the intellectual understanding. That's easy to confuse with you've opened the vault.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I see it, because I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm thinking so much about something, but I'm not actually feeling it or opening the vault and seeing what's in there, because you have to let go as well to access that. And the letting go means to put the guards to the side.
It's trickery. Yeah. So the ego is great at playing tricks. So we trick ourselves essentially into thinking we've done the work or I've passed the test. And this is where I'm thinking about one of the problems, which is the myth of Sisyphus, but the king that tricks Zeus, or tries to anyway, and then tricks Thanatos, and Persephone. That trickery is the assumption, this egoic idea that maybe I can fool nature, right? The inherent laws of the fundamentals. So we play the game, believing because we got a bit of success here. Look, I convinced someone, I deceived them, and I convinced enough people that I'm healed, or that I'm this person, and that I'm actually all sweet. Everything's all good, nothing to see. And I've convinced enough people that I'm starting to believe it myself. We play funny tricks on ourselves, man, really just to make sure we don't feel into our experience, or the thing that's the vault that you're explaining as well. But it's just you and your voice, you and your conscience at the end of the night. And that it always creeps up to let you know you've talked shit today, and people don't like that voice. That's the voice of truth. It creeps up. It lets you know that you're deviating from your heart's calling. It lets you know that you're lying. It lets you know that you're deceiving. You're deviating from your conscience. And it creeps up, and that's where distractions will come in. People don't want to hear that voice. And so they will go into distraction, mind-numbing tasks, make sure that they drown themselves to sleep in distraction, so they don't hear that voice, essentially. But yeah, the trickery only goes so far, and that's why you have to have a transcendental, I think, idea of yourself in this, or there's more to you than what your mind can conjure up, or else you just believe that you can do the healing without actually experiencing it, because there's always a humbling simplicity in the actual lived experience of it all. If you've gone in your vault, it leaves you with your shoulders dropped, in a humbled sort of way. That's hard to describe sometimes, but yeah. Otherwise, when you hear someone explaining the hell out of their symptoms or way of being, you can hear it. It's like this person's playing tricks on themselves, and that's partly my job. Is that if I'm a mirror for someone else, as a client therapist position, is to just check if you're speaking about something too intellectually, and I can see your facial expressions or your demeanor is not matching the quality of what I'm assuming that would have actually felt like in an experience. It's like, oh yeah, you're skating around the edges, trying to convince me that there's nothing to see there. And it's like, good luck.
Mm.
Yeah.